Welcome to Tokusatsu Top 10. In today's episode, we're counting down the top 10 6th Ranger editions within the Sentai franchise, and just so there's no confusion about this list, here are some of our judging rules. Number 1, 6th Ranger can be a subjective term, especially in the later series. We consider someone to be a quote 6th Ranger when they are a main part of the team after the main team has been established. Like Abare Killer was a 5th hero but still considered a 6th hero by the underlying terms. We've left out Q Ranger on this list since, well, you get the idea. And you won't find any additional heroes on this list. We're doing another with those at a later time. 2, we're judging the heroes' introductions, not the character themselves, but the surrounding introductory transforming episodes and fights. There are a few on this list you need to remember this rule for and where we have ranked them. Again, introductions, not how annoying these characters are or may become. And finally, this is all opinion-based matter and should be treated as such. Just because your favorite didn't make the list or is lower than you anticipated does not mean I'm right and you're wrong. With this in mind, let's begin, and obviously this will contain spoilers. Number 10. For those of you who have not seen Time Ranger, you are severely doing yourself a disservice. The season wonderfully sets up over the course of 3 episodes its newest hero. At the end of episode 27, a new group of militia-trained soldiers appear and hold off one of the main villains from the show. This push is mandated by the city to start fighting back on their own terms and is headed up by the Red Ranger's own father. One member from this unit is Takezawa, who was a college friend of Red and is now fighting on the front line for the group, the City Guardians. During Time Ranger episode 28, and this is seriously one of the best moments in Sentai history right here, so if you don't want it spoiled, just scrub forward. The City Guardians' advancement on a strong monster causes them to become targets, and Red actually jumps in the way of an attack to save their lives. This in turn causes his visor to shatter, and his identity is revealed to both Takezawa and his father. After disposing of the monster, suddenly the V-Rex breaks through and starts to rampage. Cut to next episode where Takezawa overhears a way to stop the mecha and acts on this information. During the chaos, he manages to retrieve the device that will transfer the ownership over to him. Despite others telling him not to do it, he gains the power over V-Rex and voice command links himself to the Zord, calming it and unexpectedly becomes the newest member to the Time Rangers by transforming him into a variation of Red, otherwise known as Time Fire. Number 9. Mega Ranger is also one of those hidden earlier Sentai gems that has a lot of good going for it. In Sentai's history, this was actually the first different take on the 6th Ranger from those that came before that were either evil or children, and it has since been emulated many times over in varying capacities. Hayakawa, who from the first introductory episode taunts the hero's secret identities in public, causing a bit of speculation as to who this is. The monster of the episode is a quick and easy pushover for the team, and they defeat it before the commercial break. Although it is revealed that the monster had a hidden recording device that downloaded the Mega Ranger's moveset and skills. The second, more powerful version of this monster is released, and the team slowly starts to realize that this thing knows their every move before they make it, and they may not be able to beat it. Good thing we have a brand new hero this episode. Number 8. There's a lot of debate on the 37th season of Sentai, myself being in the group of not particularly enjoying it beyond a few episodes after the introduction of the Gold Ranger, but I was definitely on board and even caught by surprise by his reveal. Episode 9 ended the way many Sentai episodes typically do, with a fight that sometimes a main villain will be a part of. We typically see the villain withdrawing from these types of fights, but hardly do we see the heroes actually inflict serious damage on one of these. This was the case with Dugoldo, one of the stronger henchmen of the series. He takes a shot to the face, and upon turning around, it is revealed that there is a human inside of him. We are later informed that Dugoldo isn't actually a being, but armor that encapsulates the wearer and controls them, and that the user it is currently on happens to be a samurai from over 400 years ago Torin knew of. During the next fight, the Choreographers band together to destroy the armor, and it is ultimately the samurai from inside who breaks free. He reaffirms his vows to destroying their kind, and suddenly transforms into the Gold Ranger. Dugold, Gold Ranger, I probably should have seen this coming. Number 7. Please, before you leave a hateful comment about Misao, please remember his actual introduction. We have a group of humans who are stuck in the human world, led by a human who somehow possesses the power of an eagle. The constant defeat of villains faced each episode led to a drastic birth of one of the darkest and coolest origin stories for a 6th hero. The constant defeat of villains faced each episode led to a drastic birth of one of the coolest and darkest origin stories for a 6th hero. Kidnapping and torturing 3 found humans who are also on Earth, Genius infused their life energy into a human vessel, thus creating the Worldo. During the defeat of another monster, the World is sent down to demonstrate his effectiveness. While in combat against the heroes, the World is able to change between 3 different animal powers: Rhino, Wolf, and Crocodile, and defeats the group easily. The This is very similar to the introduction of Burai from Zyuranger, and if it wasn't for the conversion a few episodes later to a hero and the constant annoyances with Misawa himself throughout the rest of the series, this moment would stand even taller in recent Sentai history. But as it does, this was a fine shakeup for the series that last season tried to do something similar, but to terrible results. Number 6. Shinkenger is perhaps one of the greatest seasons of Sentai you may find. It has a little bit of everything for its viewers, and the story itself is a constant reminder that a lot of other Sentai plotlines and characters fall flat over the course of the year. For as serious as the show and characters can be, when there are funny moments, they really stick. So it makes sense that the sixth hero had to be completely comedy driven to offer the best of both worlds without having the humor being too forced. While returning from a false monster alert, the Shikengers are presented with a note that says, "Coming soon," and Red begins to become paranoid around the household. The retainers head to the location the monster was set to appear to search for more clues and find a sushi seller whose handwriting matches the one on the note. When questioned, he bails while the remaining Shikengers are called to deal with the monster of the episode. They soon are quickly overpowered by his tricks, and that's when the sushi seller comes back to their aid. He explains that his note left was meant to be a surprise reveal at a later time and not a threat like they had deduced. So then he changes for the first time on screen into Shikenger Gold, breaking the Shikenger group of 5 that has been passed down for the last 17 generations. It's during this fight you get not one, but 2 references to past hero introductions. There's the whole and even the slowdown repeat action you saw in Dekaranger. Genta was a wonderful addition to this team almost immediately, and if you don't watch the next time on segments, this episode is a wonderful surprise that is still rewatchable today. Number 5. Of course Burai was going to be present on this list, and as for the very first official 6th Ranger, sorry X1 Mask, his introduction was a tough one to beat. Many people will recognize this suit from Power Rangers, and much like Tommy in that series, Burai was also a villain antagonist to the team of heroes. A new power and warrior is located and understood to still be in slumber, much like the main 5 were at the start of the season. The Zyurangers believe waking him up and joining with him to defeat Bandora the Witch is the best strategy. Both their mentor Braza and another mentor type Gnome both disagree in not waking up Burai. Bandora behind the scenes urges and helps Gnome's grandson, however, who also wishes to revive Burai in this process. During a Gatai fight towards the end of the episode, the grandson is successful in awakening this 6th hero. Upon his release, he claims to be the prince of the same tribe as our Red Ranger is from, and transforms into the Dragon Ranger. Instead of attacking and helping the Zyurangers, he infiltrates their cockpit and single-handedly defeats each and every one of them. As a villain, the Zyurangers resume their conflict with another powerful foe now at their heels. Number 4. If you watch Sentai, there's a good chance you already know who Guy Ikari is, and how awesome he was when he first showed up. The Gokaigers arrive on Earth in search of the greatest treasure said to be hidden here. 5 aliens who have little to no compassion towards the inhabitants and work together only to continue their search. A new introduction of a character named Bosco may have led some to believe he would become the 6th member, and while they're both right and wrong, he does however reveal his ulterior motives that do include a collection of 6th Ranger keys. So of course, after defeating Marvelous's rival, the next episode is our cue to introduce the real 6th Ranger. Guy is a recently reanimated Earthling who was actually given his powers from 3 deceased 6 warriors after dying himself from saving a young boy in the street. What would have made this moment stand out more would have been in the film 199 Hero Great Battle, which originally intended to present the 200th hero, Guy, during this run. But like many things in Gokaiger, the tsunami crisis in 2011 led to rushed and inconsistent elements. Still, seeing Guy completely halt battle only to transform officially for the first time still makes me laugh. Number 3. I went back and forth about this being lower on the list, but after watching the episodes again, I still believe that Ko from Dairanger was one of the best and freshest ideas in the franchise's 41-year history. The Dairangers are a trained group of fighters that understandably are very powerful, and obvious choices to transform and fight the monsters of the weak. Ko, on the other hand, well, he's a perverted kid, but a kid nonetheless who happens to be hearing a voice pulling him towards greatness. This greatness, he soon finds, is a sword in the stone, a talking sword to be exact. The villains of the show want the sword for their own power and are met with the Dairangers, who begin to fight. During this scene, Ko begins to understand the sword is talking to him and he is easily able to pull it from the stone. Lightning strikes and he is transformed into a larger, more adult-sized white Dairanger known as the Akibaranger. During the combat to follow, his sword Byakko Shinken acts as a ventriloquist and intimidates his enemies. The identity of the Akibaranger remains a secret for a good while in this show, and love him or hate him, this moment is a great and passionate move to the main audience of this show, the kids. You don't need to be trained or have to dwell on your shortcomings. If you truly follow your future and fight to make it a brighter one, you too can pull the sword from the stone. Number 2. While I still cannot understand everyone's unconditional love for this series, I will however agree that the appearance of Sungel and Magiranger is perhaps one of the most unique and memorable moments. After the Magirangers defeat Branken in episode 18, 19 is immediately set to introduce another more powerful group of villains. The Magirangers appear before a cave that they are taunted to enter, and upon arriving inside, we find out that Blue's biggest fear is frogs when one happens to leap on her. Deeper in the cave, they find a magic lamp, and they are suddenly attacked. The monsters make off only with a dried-off corpse and leave, this later becoming the new villain. The lamp itself holds a feline genie named Smokey who refuses to do any wish-granting for cheap. Meanwhile, in the next episode, the city is under attack and the Magirangers are unable to hold off against the new opponents. The same frog from before leaps onto the monster and saves Blue. The frog gets thrown off and Blue picks him up, touched that he saved her, and she hears him talk to her. "Kiss me," it says as its final wish. As she raises him to her lips, the monster attacks but is blown back by light that erupts from the frog, now transforming into a handsome man. Turns out to be a heavenly saint, and then transforms with Smokey into Magi Shine. I'm also glad that since this was a family series, they didn't make him some random cousin or creepy uncle we hadn't heard of until now. Now for some honorable mentions, and again, this list was very interesting because our sole judging revolved around appearance episodes and not the characters themselves or the series they were a part of. If this was the case, Tenkai from Hurricaneger would have easily made the list. Although not nearly as cool as his American Ninja Storm counterpart entrance, I still love Shurikenger's half English Japanese style. Abare Killer and Deca Break also deserve a hearty mention, but myself and others agree that their entrants were either done better before or after by another hero, and didn't do too much to distinguish themselves. And finally, number 1. If you know me personally, you will know that I find go-onger to be one of the most underrated Sentais. Many who decidedly put it down when asked cannot remember the introduction of the 6th heroes. That's right, heroes. Either because they didn't make it that far or they weren't paying attention. Basically, in a nutshell, go-onger is a team-up of these large persons called engines from another world who are fighting a group who has fled to the human world. Upon arriving, some of them must team up with its inhabitants in order to continue the fight. These become the go-ongers. The series starts with 3 heroes but quickly then moves to 5. All of their engine partners are grounded and are different types of cars, bikes, buses, you name it. And there are a few episodes later that show them reaching out and adding new engines to the team. So anyway, there comes an episode where the newest enemy happens to pilot a flying craft, and because of his advantage, he easily bests the go-ongers, causing them to run and hide for their lives. Up to this point, the show has been pretty happy and goofy, so this immediately sets a new stage. They devise a plan that will launch Red's own engine into the air with the help of everyone, and during the rematch and trial run of this plan, it is an utter success. They rip through and destroy his ship, but as the dust settles, the broken craft splits into many smaller ships, and they're back to square one. But this happens, and no one saw it coming. 2 unseen engines that have the ability to fly swoop in and hunt down the villain in an all-out dogfight, destroying him without so much as batting an eye. And then they just leave. That's it. Nothing heroic or showy, they came in and they did their job. In the next episode, there's a monster who creates oil spills and looks to have the engines beat, until again these flying engines show up, telling the team of amateurs to butt out and go home. So from this point on, they're trying to prove they're worthy to these new awesome companions, and during the rematch fight, the oil splashes on the 2 flying engines, and it's actually up to the go-ongers to save them this time. They seem impressed, and this is the part where I remember actually jumping off my couch as a kid. Inside, there are pilots. New go-ongers or go-on-wings. We don't even get to meet these 2 yet, they just fly off again. It's not until the very next episode when they show up and transform for the first time that this becomes easily the greatest and by far best introduction to 6th heroes, and 7 in this case, that Sentai has seen so far. Well, that wraps up this list. What do you think should have made the list or not? Let us know down below in the comments. And remember, those who support this channel over on Patreon with a single $1 get to see these videos a whole day early. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to give the video a like, and if you're new around here and like weird and random Tokusatsu videos, to please subscribe.